think about ecological reparation as a way of managing and making time and entangling time. And that for me is really interesting, how ecosystems, and when you try to restore or repair or regenerate them, are really tangles of time, different temporalities that meet, that encounter. So, for example, in my work, I've been really interested in, on the one hand, on how the temporality of the geological plays out. So, for example, how a salt flat comes into being, how a salt flat is made. So all the geological and volcanological and hydrogeological factors and processes involved in shaping a basin in order, and how from that endorheic basin a salt flat is formed. But I'm interested in how that geological time encounters, and sometimes not really peacefully, with other temporalities. For example, in the case of the Atacama salt flat, with the temporality of extractivism. So the temporality of mining, the temporality of capital accumulation, the temporality of territorial intervention, the temporality of the state, and on the other hand, so like a third temporality, the temporality of sustainability, the temporality to come, right? The time to come, that the promise of time that is not here yet, is like an absent presence. It's not here, but we work towards. I mean, in many senses, it's the challenge of how to knit together carefully those temporalities, and which temporalities matter.
What is your approach to this question of hesitation and interruptions that allow this diversity and multiplicity of worlds to connect together?
It's really interesting to see how sometimes the conflict, it's not around how an ecosystem should be healed or should be restored, but really what does ecology means, right? Or what does restoration means? So that kind of opening, that doubt, that moment of hesitation, creates, performs a lot of political spaces. Political spaces in terms of spaces in which we are not in agreement, not even in what agreement means, right? So I've been thinking about that, especially working with indigenous communities.
Can you tell us a bit more, existential plurality and abundance in your research, perhaps in the salt flats in relation to lithium, to extractivism, but also more generally?
Atacama Desert, which is the driest desert in the world, located at around 3,000 meters above sea level. But really, it's a basin, right, which is surrounded by volcanoes. And of course, the Salar, as you know, is probably the largest reservoir of lithium brine in the earth, at least in South America. And lithium has become this kind of white gold for sustainable transitions due to the importance of lithium, among other rare metals, in the production of batteries, which is a key component for thinking about electromobility, for example. So batteries are coupled with, lithium batteries are coupled with the expansion of green energies, right? But what is interesting for me, thinking about abundance, is that when you talk with mining companies, for example, and even with state officials, there is this image of the desert and this image of the Puna as an empty space, right? It is a space devoid of life, devoid of vitality, even sometimes devoid of any history. It's just plain space. It's the old traditional idea which perseveres today of the terra nullius, right? There is nothing here, so we can intervene. And working with Likanantai communities, indigenous communities that have settled for the last 12,000 years around the Atacama Salt Flat, I have realized kind of always expanding, extremely abundant community, more than human community, made, articulated, cultivated between different elements, that is really always kind of opening up and exploding and making, right, and expanding, expanding relations, expanding care. That for me has been a really interesting point of entrance to understand what is going on in the Puna.
For instance, when you talk about this and you talk about what's going on in the Puna and you work with indigenous communities, like maybe tell us a little bit what does involve, what they are doing and what you are doing with them, or what are you interested in what they are doing, and that might give us a bit of context also.
I'm collaborating with Ayatiri. Ayatiri is a shaman in the Andean world, right? So she's a Likanantai Yatiri. And she has been a very key actor really trying to heal the salt flat from the violence of the mining industry, specifically the lithium mining industry in the Salar. What is a salt flat? What is a salar? Right? So a salar is many things. It's a geohydrological formation. It's a paleontological. There are, there is a paleoecology involved in the salar. There are eco-social elements that mark, that define what the salar, what the salt flat is. But for Doña Sonia, the person with whom I'm working with, for her, the salar is also a source of knowledge, for example. So the salar teaches you. The salar is able to provoke insights. The salar, needless to say, has a personality. It has a personhood. The salar is kin, right? The salar is a family member, is an ancestor, is a grandfather that teaches you, that guides you, not in a kind of patriarchal or kind of disciplining way, but in a more kind of very concrete, very tangible, very affective way. Sometimes not nicely. Sometimes the salar and the desert will put you in very extreme situations, because the salaris and the desert at large are not friendly spaces for human metabolisms. It's quite extreme. At night it's very cold. In the day, sometimes it's very hot, very dry, it's very high. So one of the things I've been working with her, I mean, really more than working with her, I've been, trying to be with her, with Doña Sonia, is trying to understand how she's doing ecological reparation in the salar, right? How she's doing the healing of the salar. One of the things that I've learned with her is the importance of walking. Walking as a methodology or a practice, first to know the salar, to know a place. Second, to let the place speak to you. So to let a kin, an ancestor, to speak to you through the walking with and in that place, and also walking as a ceremony, a ceremony for healing. So the power of it in itself of walking for repairing, for restoring. When we think about justice in diverse territories, in my case, in the salt flat, for example, because my tendency, at least, is to kind of transform justice in a kind of metaphor that sometimes is that sometimes means many things, right? But not the important things for the communities themselves with which I'm working. And so I've become really aware that when Doña Sonia or other communities that I've worked with and with whom I'm working now, when they talk about justice, they are really talking about concrete justice, like give land back, to stop mining operations, to make mining companies accountable. Epistemological plurality. The first step for any gesture of justice is to acknowledge, to validate other forms of being and thinking and dwelling.